Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you like any of the videos, you like what you're hearing, you like what you're seeing, please hit the like button, subscribe button, share it out. Here we talk any sports, but it's been mainly football. We get some great coaches on here. Anybody that wants to come on and talk some ball, you guys got an offensive play you like, offense you just want to talk about, defense, a drill, anything unique you do, or if it's just as simple as ever and you want to come on here and present or talk, please reach out. I love talking ball. I love meeting people and building these relationships. I'm having fun. So please share this out. Let's get this growing. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you enjoy the channel. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Before I get started, please like, subscribe, or share out. I appreciate everybody that gets eyes on this. It really helps me out a lot. Anybody that's listened, I appreciate you. Getting some great coaches on. And speaking of great coaches, I have another one today. Coach Singleton. If you don't know who he is and you're on Twitter, you need to reevaluate your Twitter life and figure out something else. So, Coach, just in case nobody knows who you are that listens to this, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Coach Slade Singleton. I'm the offensive coordinator at Asheville High School. This will be my first year there. Um, been coaching football for about 11 years now. Um, so been doing it quite a while. Started at a young age, um, and I'm just a old ball coach, to be honest with you. I love it. I study as much as I can. I travel around the country and visit people. From high school to college. Just to learn and just trying to keep growing my knowledge of the game.
Yeah, especially during COVID, that's all we can do. That's all. And I use this podcast as free therapy. It's free therapy right here. Uh, yeah, I'm in an 11-year boat too. I started right at 18 years old coaching. I was able to start right out of the gate. Got thrown into the fire,
Mm-hmm.
and I've lost all my hair. There's some gray going on, and
Yep.
it's a great time. Speaking of gray hairs, I ask every single person that comes on, how did you get into coaching? Because, like I said, I lose my hair. There's gray. I had to shave it off so no one could tell there was gray going on. Uh, it's rewarding, though. It's rewarding. I think that's what I'm here to do is coach. Um, so, how did you get into it? Like, what kind of led you to saying, I'm going to coach football or whatever sport it is?
I always thought, about middle school, maybe, freshman year in high school. I love, just the game of football, basketball. I played baseball, and just the influences the coaches had on me that I had, kind of led me to where I'm at now. The way they helped me and helped my teammates, and just, the influence they did for us is just, it's kind of what drove me to coach. Coaching's far beyond the X's and O's. He's being able to mentor these kids, and a lot of them don't have good family lives. We just want to, make it the best for them, and that's kind of what got me into coaching. These kids that I have, I try to treat them like my own. They're always we do things where, my quarterback group or offensive group, we try to take them out to dinner, or we fix some food if we can, or we try to do something for them just to kind of let them feel at home and things like that. But yeah, just that's how I kind of got into coaching. Um, Travis Nolan was a big influence to me when I was younger. Uh, he was the head coach at Tuscola High School at that time. He gave me an opportunity to come work for him a little bit, and I learned a lot from him in my short time with him, and kind of kept in touch with him and followed him, and just he's always done things the right way, and that's kind of a big influence for me.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I was 15 years old, and I knew right then and there, like, that's what I was going to do. And it's funny, every coach I ask has a different answer. It's always different. So I love asking that. So you said it's your first year at your high school. Um, you picked a good year to be a first year, and it's this is my fifth high school, and I got hired in June. So it's the same thing. Like, oh, you left, and it's COVID.
Yeah, yeah,
But I said, who knew? I didn't know it was going to go this long. I was like, it'll be fine. We'll be back. And here we are. So your coaching career, how did you get to the high school you're at now? Because you say you started young, I started young, so there has to be a path. Like,
yes.
how did you move up?
So, from working with Travis, I went on to I actually took some time off. I actually went away from coaching when he left to go to Georgia. Um, and then different situations. I just kind of took some time off, didn't coach for a few years. And then one of my high school coaches got a head coaching job at North Buncombe High School. And we kind of got in contact, and he needed some help. And, that was back in 2013. He needed some help. So I came along and, and started there, coached there for 3 years. Moved on from there to Madison High School, which actually is the rival school of North Buncombe High School. Good friend of mine took the job there. I went with him. I was there for 2 years. Then I kind of jumped out of my comfort zone a little bit here from the mountains, and I went off the mountain down towards close to South Carolina, still North Carolina, but down that way to Forest City at Chase High School, where I met Coach Radford. He did a great job down there in his 2 years, and he contacted me, and he said, "Hey, I think I'm going to take the Asheville job. I want you to come with me." So here we are. He got hired, I think it was in February, and we were there for a few weeks, and then COVID hit, and it's kind of been a whirlwind, but we're getting it done. We did a lot of Zoom stuff and things like that. Now we can actually get with them a little bit and do some things. But hopefully here in the next couple of weeks we can have a spring practice is what we're calling it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's kind of the story of how I ended up at Asheville High School. I mean, I grew up in this area. If you don't know anything about Asheville High School, Google them. It's Asheville, North Carolina. There's a rich history. A lot of NFL players come out of Asheville High School. You got Johnny White, you got Creslin Butler. There's a lot of big names that come out of Asheville High School.
Yeah, it's great to know people sometimes. I know nothing, so I rely on knowing people. I don't know a lick, but if I know somebody and they're like, "Oh, he's a nice guy, let's bring him along," that's kind of how I roll. And that's how I got to my fifth high school. He's like, "Oh, he coaches offensive line. He's a nice guy. Bring him on over. It's fine." That's how I roll. So how is now COVID's affected each state differently? Like in Illinois, it was everybody. It's not like I talked to Coach Davis in West Virginia. They go by spots. So like certain areas are playing in West Virginia and some aren't. We're all not playing until February. Illinois never had spring football. We don't have spring football like a lot of other states. So first time in Illinois history we'll have spring football, like spring football. So how did COVID affect you guys? Like what you're able to do? Have you done anything? Is it just Zoom? All that crap? Like
yeah, we've we work out with them I'm not at the school. I actually have a full-time job, so I don't actually work at school, but I know during the week, they go Monday through Thursday, I believe. I'm right. They do workouts, they run, things like that. And then on Saturday mornings, we have kind of like skill development practice where we have our quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, DBs, safeties, linebackers, all that good stuff. Come in on Saturday mornings, and we go from 8 to 9:45 with the varsity, and then the JVs come in from 9:45 to right around 11 o'clock, and we get some good work in. But that's pretty much what we can do up to this point. I think next week, I believe we're able to move on into maybe wearing some helmets and able to do a little bit more. So that's when that spring practice stuff's going to come about here in the next couple of weeks. So,
yeah, I was getting ready to ask if you could be in helmets and shoulder pads. Illinois, they leave it up to the school district. So whatever school district claims you can do. Like we can't. Not talking bad about my school district. They don't want us doing 7-on-7. They don't want us getting a lot of contact. We can use bags and hand shields, but they don't want us doing all that. And then we just got shut down last week because the numbers rose. So they said, you know what, no more. So we're waiting to find out about that. We had like 6,000 cases yesterday, apparently, or something. And yeah. And then there's some schools in Illinois, because I'm from Central Illinois, right by University of Illinois. And I went to Eastern where Tony Romo went and all that. They're all in helmets, shoulder pads, going full at it. And if they have the cure, they got to send it somewhere because they're all doing that 3 hours south of me. And
Yeah, so we can cross the line here. You can go to South Carolina, Tennessee, uh, you know, Georgia. They're playing football. I mean, and they're playing. They're probably. I know Georgia. I think is on week 7. Uh, so South Carolina's probably about 4 or 5, week 4 or 5. I mean, it's Tennessee. I think is about week 7, 6 or 7. I mean, right around the corner they're playing. You know,
Yeah, in Indiana they're playing. Wisconsin's going to start playing. Iowa is in the playoffs right now. They've already done like the first round of the playoff. Uh, Yesterday for Illinois would have been the playoff show. We would have found out who was in the playoffs yesterday, so that kind of was a hard day for kids.
right.
Like we would have had the playoffs show. We've been preparing for the playoffs, and uh, like I know coaches that drove over to the border. Where my parents live and where I went to high school was 30 minutes from Indiana. So right across the border, there was a high school football game. And I'm like, I'm getting political here, but the disease doesn't stop at borders.
Right. Right.
Like it's here or there. It's above my pay rate to really tell people what to do. Um, so you not being in the building, like I'm a teaching assistant, so I'm sort of kind of in the building. Uh, but where I used to coach at, I was offense coordinator for a few years. I wasn't in the building. I coached football, basketball, track, but I was never in the building. Um, so I didn't know, like for you, is there struggles from not being in the building? Is there advantages? Like I feel like there's an advantage to me. They only saw me at practice, so if they didn't see me during the day, it was just practice.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was enough. They're like, we don't want to see his ugly face every day for hours on end. Like, so for you, is there advantages, disadvantages for not being in the building?
Yeah. I mean, there's advantages and there's disadvantages. I'm, lucky enough to be around a good staff. I have a good head coach. So, Coach Radford keeps me in the loop of what's going on all the time. I try to stay in contact with him, during the week, and we go over practice stuff or schedules or whatever we want to do. And so I'm lucky in that aspect of it. It's good, that again they don't see you, some, and then they see you at practice, so it's kind of different. You kind of have a different relationship with them than you do if you're with them all every day. But I never have really had a struggle with it. I mean, I believe because we're all on the same page, so we all know what we're doing and what our job is. So they know if I'm not with them, especially if we were in season, if I'm not with them, I'm doing my job, behind the scenes, and then in practice, obviously, I'm doing my job. So, again, like you said, advantages and disadvantages, but I don't think there's any negativity to it as long as it's done the right way.
Yeah, I never understood when people said they have to be teachers to be coaches, and I said they're still good coaches. I don't have to. You're still a teacher as a coach, but you don't have to teach social studies or PE. Like I had my offensive line coach in high school was a corrections officer, and he was perfectly fine. Uh, so I never understood that. Like we're still doing our job, and as kids, they're going to tell you things. They're not going to go tell their math teacher. Like I had an open door policy. I got there early. See, since I was in the building, I got there early. I can unlock the locker room, sit in the office with the door open. They can come in and talk to me. I was therapist Steve and coach Steve. Like it was one or the other. So you could be a good coach, not being a teacher, in my opinion, but that's just me. Um, so I know you from all your posts as an offensive guy. Your offense. Did you ever coach defense? This might be a short answer. Have you ever coached defense? Has it always been offense?
No,
Like, have you dabbled in defense at all?
no, I coached. Started out coaching safety.
Mm.
So I believe if you're going to be a good offensive coordinator, I think you should spend some time on the other side of the ball.
Mm.
The more you understand about movement and why the movement happens, and why they do what they do over there, it helps you as a play caller, because you know what hurts you. You know what can hurt you and what doesn't hurt you. Now, again, we all know Jimmy's and Joe's are, that's how it works. But again, if you kind of have an idea of what the other side's doing and why they do it, I believe it helps you as a play caller.
Yeah, I was an offensive lineman and defensive lineman, and I said I'm going to coach offense. That's what I'm going to do. I coached at my high school, which was the first one. Then I went to Charleston, and I told that head coach. He's like, "What do you want to coach?" I said, "Offense." He goes, "You got it." Next day, he goes, "Never mind. I changed my mind. You're going to be JV defensive play caller, help out the varsity defense, and coach linebackers. And my eyes got real big. I was 20 years old, 21 years old. I was like, this is stupid. I we still talk to this day, and I'm like, thank God you did that, because I understand defense more now, like how to attack it. Like, oh, when they line up this way, I understand what's going to happen. Or the kids don't know, but when a lineman lines up a certain way, I know what's about to happen. May not. They just know to block him. But like, I know if they're angling a certain way, I know stunts happening, or whatever it is. Because we were 3-4, so I know I have to learn all that. And
Right.
then when I became an offensive coordinator, I really quickly realized, like, oh, when they line up like this, when you line up like this, like, I quickly learned, like, and being a defensive lineman, and now I coach offensive line again, I understand defensive line stuff when they stand like this, when they do this, like, and I tell coach, I'm going to be 30 years old. So, like, to some people that's young, to me, that's old. I've been doing this since I was 18, 19. I tell other coaches, coach what you don't want to. So, you want to be an offensive line coach, go coach something else first and come back. You want to be a defensive coordinator, go coach offense first and then come back. Like, I think it works out. See, I'll talk. See, I told you. I get going. And
No, you're fine. It does. You're exactly right. It gives you a better perspective as when you switch over to the other side, whatever side that is. Again, as a defensive coach, say offense comes out empty, you have to have an empty check. There's checks that that they have based off formation. So as an offensive coach, you say, well, all right, how do I get them into that check? Or how do I get them into that look I want to get them into? Now, I've played teams, and I'm sure everybody has, where that doesn't necessarily apply. They might not have a check. They might just let it go. Or you play against these good defensive coordinators where, they've got plenty of checks and they can adjust to whatever you're doing. But it helps knowing what formation is going to get them out of what they're comfortable doing.
yeah. But I know one thing I did was you almost get too complicated because you almost get too worried about everything. And so I quickly realized, like, on defense or offense, when I first became like a JV defense play caller, my first thought was, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. And I'll tell the varsity guy, they're going to do this. We have to have this, 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 and this. Next thing you know, oh my God, there's 20 checks we got going on. And so I'm like, we got to keep it stupid simple. I realized very quickly, like, as long as we line up a certain way, looking back at offense, if you line up a certain way, that still messes with them. You may not be doing what they think, but as long as you line up that way, like, we threw a lot of bubble screens and like key screens. So as long as a guy lined up a certain way, they knew we weren't going to throw it. That's all you got to do. Now, but as a defensive person thinking, oh, that's all you got to do, you could be a cover two still, but as long as you line up that way, I didn't need to be like, oh my God, we need this guy in here, this guy in here, this package. Watch too much Nick Saban defense. Like, I need this, I need this. But you're right, we gotta be simple. And then some of these things might kind of blend in, like these questions are probably gonna blend off each other. So, like, a lot of the stuff you've posted, I loved. Like, your offensive stuff, I've absolutely loved. I've probably stolen a couple here and there. Like, I'm gonna write this down or put this down. So, like, who do you study in the offseason? What coach do you look at to come up with that stuff that you're posting that you've called as an offensive coordinator? Like, how do you come up with that stuff? Like, like, who do you look at? Who do you study? Who do you learn it from? Like, I'm combining all these questions I sent you. Like, let's just combine them. Let's just go.
Early, a lot of it was, I'll just give you the story. When I went to Buncombe High School, where I came from with Travis, they were more of a pro style. He's more of a pro style guy. I mean, we get some spread stuff, and he still does today, and he's more spread now, I think, than he's ever been. But, we were pro style. We wanted to run the football, and we had that mentality. That's what we were going to do. But, I mean, if we had to kind of spread you out a little bit and throw it around, we'd do that as well. So when I went to North Buncombe with, Coach Cagle and them, and we just kind of looked at personnel, and we said, we just don't have the personnel to do that. We had a good quarterback. We had some young receivers, had a tailback, pretty decent little tailback, and our offensive line wasn't really good. So they were, work in progress. I don't want to say they were good because they were good kids, and they played hard, and they did the best of their ability. But So we kind of got into a little bit of, trying to figure out what are we going to do and how do we compete in this conference that we're in, and our answer was we were going to spread people out and we were going to throw it. If we threw it 55 times a game, we were going to do it. And that's where we started kind of saying, well, we're spread, but we weren't completely air raid. We kind of branded ourselves as air raid because we were, airing it out. That's what we were doing. If you gave us the box, we would run. Obviously, we'd run inside zone, outside zone. We'd run some power. If we got the box look, that's what we'd do. The quarterback would just check. If we got the box, we were just going to run it. If we got the box numbers. But most of the time we were chucking it. So honestly, what got me into it was a little bit of trying to just work that out. I went to the Charlotte Nike of the Year Coaches Clinic. And this is going to lead into how, you want to talk about surface to air a little bit. This is where I met Rich Hargett. This was back in 2013. He was at Ashbrook. So I was looking at the list thing and I said, I'm going to go check out this guy. He's a high school coach. He's from Ashbrook. He's from North Carolina. And I seen, when I sat down and watched a little bit of film, he's popping up Asheville film where they played Asheville. Well, Asheville's in our conference. So I'm looking at it. Now, he had a little better athletes than what we had, but he's throwing it around. He's RPO and he's doing this and that. And I said, man, that's kind of interesting. So first year we went back and we only won how many games? Let's see. We won 3 games that year. But they hadn't won a game in like almost 7 years. So we won 3 games and it was pretty good, right? So the next year we really started getting into spread, RPO, going fast. So the going fast thing, I started studying Chip Kelly, just like everybody else did. Chip Kelly, he was fast as he can go. And I was thinking, how do you do that? So you got to figure out if you're going to play fast, you got to figure out how to do it, right? You can't just say, oh, we're going to go play fast. It just doesn't work that way. So you got to have a system of how you signal it in, how you communicate, when to go fast, when not to go fast, all that good stuff, right? So I studied Chip Kelly. I studied everything I could find, every clinic I could find, try to find him on the circuit. Where's he going? Where can I find him? So a lot of it I did not find him in person, obviously. A lot of it I studied off Glacier. There's things people post and just trying to study everything I could. So that's pretty much how we kind of got to the, we're going to be spread, we're going to go fast deal. Well, long story short, in 14, we won 7 games, made the playoffs for the first time in like 9 years. Great year for us. Quarterback, receivers broke multiple school records for passing. Now, again, not going to say that's that great of a deal because they ran the ball a lot early, before we got there. There wasn't a lot of passing records to shatter, but we shattered them pretty quick. And, and we signed our quarterback, went to play Division II school. We had a couple of receivers go play Division II. And, so we kind of got on the map a little bit with that. And that, everybody said, well, man, North Buncombe's doing some stuff that we ain't seen before. We really wasn't doing nothing really crazy. I mean, we were RPO, we were throwing bubble, we were throwing a now screen, we're throwing, we're rolling to the right, throwing a tunnel back to the left, just simple stuff like that. But it worked for us. We could compete because now we're making these teams have to defend us in space and tackle in space instead of trying to play in a phone booth. If we played in a phone booth, we wouldn't win a dang ball game. That's just the way it was. But us spreading people out, making their aggressive linebackers, their aggressive defensive line, their safeties and corners come up and have to play in space. That's what helped us, and that's why we got to the point where, we were winning ball games, and again, like I said, we didn't win no state championship game. We got beat in the first round of the playoffs that year by a team that went on to, I think they got beat in the state championship. But either way, we made it. We made a mark. But around North Carolina here, we were kind of creating some buzz as to hey, what are they doing? So at that point, I started having people call me asking, what are you guys doing?
Mhm.
And of course, I went around, started talking to people, and that's kind of how I got to the point where my Twitter account is, and things like that, into writing these books and doing things like that. But I had a defense coordinator tell me one time, he's like, he said, I got a stack, of plays of you guys like this. And I said, why you got that for? And that's a good friend of mine. I've known him. I said, why do you have that for? And he said, well, you're in this formation, you're in that formation, you're doing this and that. I said, we might be in a different formation, but we're running the same plays. I said, we hadn't changed anything. I mean, we got 4 run plays, we got 4 quick passes, we got 4 screens, we got 4 dropbacks, and that's it. Now, we'll tag, we'll win the dress, we'll RPO off of it, but it's all tags. It's nothing that, I'm not reinventing the wheel of football. I'm just simplifying football. So, and that's kind of where we got, and that's where we're at now. But when I went to Madison, we were a little different. So those boys up there, they eat a lot of cornbread and they work in the fields. We had some big linemen. I'm telling you, we were 300 pounds across the board. I mean, we were huge. I mean, we were like Wisconsin up front. And we had a quarterback first year, Coach Rodelmer up there. He did a really good job. And that's where he kind of taught me a little bit more than just throwing the ball, more about running the ball, and running it with the quarterback and trying to get, how do I get box numbers, to get the +1 in the box and run the quarterback. So, I worked with him, that one year. He left after 1 year, actually, and I stayed for another year. In that second year, we really tore it up on the ground with the quarterback. We did in the first year. Our quarterback in the first year ran for 2,000 yards. Yep, 2,000 yards.
Wow.
Yep, 2,000 yards. He threw for 1,000. And our next kid did the same thing. And we didn't, we were throwing the ball, but we were throwing it because we could run the crap out of it with the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just a quarterback. I mean, we'd run a tailback. My tailback finished almost 1,000 yards himself. If he didn't, he might have been 1,000 yards. I can't remember exactly, but we were just big up front. And all we taught the kid we put at quarterback never played quarterback the second year. He started at safety as a sophomore and never played a lick of offense the first year. So we didn't have a quarterback, and we were talking, and we figured out, hey, he's our best athlete. So we taught him how to throw a quick screen, taught him how to throw some, stick, hitches, things like that. And, we got where we could throw 4 verticals with him a little bit, and that was it. So we kind of changed over the past few years, and it's carried over down to where we are now. We become we're a spread team, but we're a power spread team. We're going to spread you out to run the ball. That's what we want to do. Now, if you pack the box, we're going to have the ability to RPO, throw the ball out there, and do some things. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to run the football. So that's kind of where the offense has gone from, hey, we're throw it 55 times a game. Now we're running it, probably 75% of the time, if not more, and being able to throw when we need to. But that's kind of where we're at. And then again, I believe at the end of the day, you can score all day long, throwing the ball and this and that, but if you're going to win state championships and you're going to go deep in the playoffs here, especially where I'm at, you got to run the football. At some point, you've got to line up and be able to save the game by running the football. And that's probably what we didn't do a very good job at North Buncombe, was we was not able to line up and run the ball when we needed to.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up Wisconsin. That Illinois-Wisconsin game was rough for us Illinois guys.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Oh, that was rough. Like, I am a U of I fan because I grew up 20 minutes. But teams, I know U of I is a basketball school. It's not. But that was rough. That was ugly. I've never seen Wisconsin throw the ball so much in my life. It was awful. So when you were throwing the ball, was it like Mike Leach air raid stuff, or was it like Hal Mummy or?
Yeah, so we kind of what I say is we're not completely air raid. Obviously, we have some air raid. We'll run stick. We run Y. Well, I call it H cross. We don't have a Y. So we run cross. We run sail. We run some of that stuff, but a lot of the stuff we were throwing, back North Buncombe days was some of that, but a lot of it was, I mean, it was more kind of like your West Coast stuff. We just kind of moved it to the gun. You know, a lot of it was quick. I mean, we were throwing probably unconventional routes. I mean, we're throwing one of our best ones. We call it Tennessee, where we would be a 2x2 formation. Our H is going to go spot over the ball about 6 yards, and we would bring our outside Z on a dig, like a 5-yard dig, and we'd kind of shoot or swing the back, kind of like spacing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're running the dig with it instead of the, the little sit, snag, whatever you want to call it. You know, we just we morphed it together, but here lately I've done it so long now that it's just become, this is what our passing game is. You know, instead of, but back then we were just watching stuff and going, man, that looks good. Let's try that. Yeah, but now we've kind of, after, you know, I've been doing it now 8 years of this offense. So, you know, obviously we've added some stuff because, I mean, the game evolves and you have to have different answers now to what, you know, coverages you see. But, you know, we made some stuff up. I'll be honest. We put some route combinations together to see how they worked. You know, one time at North Buncombe, our quarterback was so good. We had cover 3 beaters over here, cover 2 over here. And he'd just come up and look and see, he'd read the coverage. If it was 2, we were over here, you know, say 2 to the field, 3 to the boundary. I mean, he'd just read it. So we kind of did a little bit of that stuff back there. But again, that takes a smart kid. He's got to be able to understand what you're doing and what you want out of it. But we were blessed with him at that time. But now we've kind of narrowed it down to, like I said, we're going to throw. We have the ability to throw any part of the field. So I mean, we can throw intermediate, we can throw medium, we can throw long. We have every bit of that in our package. So I think that's kind of where I think we're better now than we were before, even when we were throwing it 55 times a game. You know, I think we're better organized now with it to say, you know, going into a game, you know, we got it broke down to, you know, red zone, high red zone, goal line, you know, middle of the field, you know, plus territory, and they, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff. We've got it broke down to what we're going to throw. So when we go into a game, our kids know where we're at on the field, what our options are that we're going to go to. You know, man kind of changes things a little bit. Obviously, you got to get more into your picks and rubs and things like. Oh, I better not say pick. Defense don't like to hear it. They don't like that pick word, but that gentle rub.
Yeah, that rub route that's just straight.
Yeah. So, but again, like I said, I think that's kind of where we're better than what we used to be. Even though we threw for a lot of yards, we threw a lot of touchdowns. I think we're better organized now than what we were.
So when you said that you had like a cover 3 beater, cover 2 beater, was that just a play? So I don't know. I said Illinois. Was that a automatic play, or was it? I know there's a school here in Illinois. They've won 7 of the last 9 state titles, or 8 of the last 10 state titles in their class, and I've watched them. So they might come up and say Illinois, Ole Miss. So he's yelling Illinois, Ole Miss. They're running Illinois here and Ole Miss on that side.
Correct.
Is that how it was when you were doing it?
Yeah. So the Alabama Sabretooth would be one. Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're going out Alabama. The first one's always your 2. The second one would be your 3 or 4 or whatever other coverage we thought we were going to get. So that's what.
Yeah. When I became OC, I was told what to do, kind of like we talked about. I was told what to do, and we were pro style, and we were going to a spread. And I kind of said, you know, I want to go towards a Mike Leach, Hal Mummy passing game. We can run the ball, don't get me wrong, but I want to be able to do the passing stuff. And so they said, well, let's learn basic concepts. So like you said, we might do, if it's to us at the time with the school I was at, it was 2x2 was doubles. So if I stayed on, it was doubles or whatever. If I called slant hitches, you know, left side was running slants, the right side was running hitches. There's my cover 2, there's my cover 3. And that's kind of how it was. So it just reminded me of that. So I'd always signal it in, but we didn't have names. It was just signal into them. So like it just signal in slant hitch, or we called smash on one side and maybe 6 on the other side, or like vertical. But I hated it. I hated every moment of it because I got into that trap of, oh, we can have as many passing things as we want.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, you got 15 or 20 of them. And it's like, so now when I'm signaling in, I look like a baseball coach. I'm doing all this stuff. And
yeah, I like the one word stuff. It's easier for me to remember. You know, so
Yeah,
I just build it all into one word. And I got the best of both worlds if I can do that.
yeah. That's how the school that's won all the state titles. I've talked to that coach, and that's how they do it. Like it's exactly how you're doing it. Like now he might just come out and say, I don't know, Alabama, and that's just one play. But like, and that's what they're doing. Then there's times where I've watched them because I coach keeps them at 7-on-7 too, and they're coming up and yelling Texas and Wisconsin, and I'm like, what is going on? Like you're giving them two different things. And then and I think that's where the coach I was working for got that kind of thing going on. Like, oh, they're doing this. We're just going to do this. But I wanted to go to a Mike Leach or a Hal Mummy passing thing. And then, long story short, we never did. He wanted to keep it to where we can control what was going on and never got there. And then the school I went to after that, they did. They had some of that stuff. And they're like, and we went 10-1. So I was like, oh, which one was better? Like, that one or the other one?
I said that worked pretty well.
Yeah, and they did what you did. Like mesh was Michigan, so we were a huddle team. So he said Michigan, it was mesh, and then if you wanted to tag somebody, he would say Michigan, such and such, run a corner or a post, and that's all you got to say is like X post or something. That's all you had to say was Michigan X post, and that was it. Shallow, I think was Michigan State, so we married those together. So it was like, oh, Michigan's mesh, Michigan State is shallow. It was just. 6 was Utah because you just go like this, really easy to signal it in. So our 6 was that. And now we ran the ball a lot, don't get me wrong, but we had them. We ran trap like 9 times in a row one time and scored. That's just what, if it was working, we didn't care. So you kind of answered it, but I'm asked this again. On my other podcast, I've talked to wing T coaches, just kind of how it happened. I love all offenses. I'll watch Army. I'll watch Navy. I'll watch whoever. There's a lot of hate towards spread teams and wing T teams. So I know why I love the spread. I grew up in the option. I played under center option in high school. I coached in it, and I coached in pro style, and then we're in spread. And I love spread. That's just what it is. So why the spread? Like why should people run the spread? I know why, but
I think kind of like what I said before. You know, depending on where you're at. I mean, you got to look at your personnel. Say, you know, is spread our, you know, do we need to be spread? Do we need to be pro style? We need to be wing T. What fits our guys, right? You know, everywhere I've been, you know, spread's kind of been, you know, it fits what we have, fits our personnel. And at the end of the day, you know, spread can give you a couple advantages. One is matchups. You can create matchups with the spread. Two, you make the defense have to play in space. Anybody can play in a phone booth. Anybody can get in there. I mean, you know, hey, open B gap. I can fill the B gap. You know, anybody can come. Safety can come down. All that good stuff. Anybody can play in that phone booth. But you know, I want to see for us to be successful. I believe we have to get people in space. We have to make teams play us in space. We have to be able to play fast. Because that gives us an advantage. Because we might not be as athletic, or we might not have as much talent, or whatever as who we're playing. So we've got to create our own success, if that makes sense. And spread helps us create that success.
yeah, my answer always was, I feel like you can adapt in a spread offense, and what I mean by that is, let's say you're a wing T coach, and 1 year you already know coming up as this kid's a freshman or sophomore, like, oh my God, this quarterback can sling it, or he can run, or we've got some speed. I feel like it's harder to go like, oh, now we're going to go spread stuff. I feel like it's hard to go from wing T and spread them out to do that. Then I'd rather start off as a spread and be like, oh, we got 300-pound linemen. We have a stud running back. We have a stud running quarterback. I feel like it's easier to go find a hand down tight end or an H-back or something and say we're going to run the ball more. So maybe that offseason, you know what, we're going to add just an extra run play, but take out a pass play because we can run the ball more this year or something like that. I feel like as a spread team, you're able to do that rather than be a wing T team and do that. Now, I know I'm wrong. People do it, but in my world, that's what I think.
Right.
And I think being a spread where you can practice passing more, practice RPOs or screens, you stay in the game. Now, I know Navy proved me wrong when they played Tulane a couple weeks ago. I've just been in those situations as a coach. Like so many times we've been down, and since we were in a spread or able to do this, we were able to come back.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're a wing T team and you're trying to control the clock and it's not working, and you're down 21. Now, a coach told me this: you're not going into a game thinking you're down 21-0. You're never going to go into thinking that. But if you're down 21-0 as a wing T team, how are you going to come back? That's what I'm thinking. And I'm wrong, but
you're right in a lot of ways. And again, everybody has their own philosophy. There's a reason why they do it. I mean, they either they believe in it, they've known it, forever. That's what they've always done. That's what they're comfortable with. At the end of the day, you want to be comfortable with what you're doing. If you're not comfortable with it, your kids aren't going to be comfortable with it, and it's going to be a disaster. So you have to be comfortable with what you're doing. But like I said, when I say we're a spread team, but if you talk to probably some of the defense coordinators we play, and I've talked to them, I'm friends with some of them. Living in this area, you kind of know a little bit of everybody, and they said you better use that spread word, kind of loosely, and when you say spread, because we're getting two tights, we're getting tight end wing. We'll get into some unconventional formations that are, basically if you look at them, sometimes looks like wing T. We use H back a lot. We use tight ends. We're a spread offense, but we will use tight ends. And I believe in it. A lot of times if you can put a tight end down with a hand down, you create an extra gap. Now they gotta play an extra gap. Now they lose somebody that's supposed to be out on the perimeter, or however they want to play it. It is what it is. But we're creating another gap that you got to defend. Now if I put two of them in there, and I empty out my tailback, now I got you in two tight empty. What are you going to do? You play in the box, or you getting out? You got to make a decision. So it is what it is. But my whole deal is if I'm watching a game, I got to figure out when I'm watching film is how can I create extra gaps without confusing my kids, without installing a whole new offense, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But we already have it. We practice it from day one. We get in these formations, and now you've seen some of my stuff on Twitter. I'll put in we run some crazy formations, but we do that off tempo. Like if we do that, say we got an explosive play, and I want to catch you again or something. If I think I can, you're already, something crazy happened. You're trying to get your kids, set up or whatever. I'll jump into some crazy formation, and it might be just to run the football, but I'm going to get out there because if I could catch you. If you can't get lined up, a lot of times we get timeout. That's what happens a lot. But we say we're spread, but again, we're going to use tight ends. If we have those bodies available, we're going to use them. And that's kind of what we've done the past 4 years, 4 years, is we've been able to use tight ends. And everybody says, "Well, Coach, I don't have two tight ends." Well, what about your third string D end over there? It's not playing. What about your second, third string tackle? Put him on the backside and teach him to block down and kick out. That's all you got to do. And that's kind of what we do. We find a kid that can do that. You've got him. Everybody has him. He doesn't have to run out and catch a pass. He doesn't have to do any of that. But if you don't like, put him on the backside. Like I said, block down, kick out. That's it. That's all you got to do with him.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth because I'm the run game coordinator, which is a nice way of saying you're the O-line coach, which is fine. But they want me to do the run game. Like the offense coordinator said, this is all I want. You do it. I don't care how you install it. And so they're talking about tight ends. And I said, I have like 30 linemen. There's 20 or 30 linemen. It's ridiculous. And so they're talking about it. I said, why can't I just put another lineman in and be on balance, kind of? Like you put another lineman there. Well, he's not going to catch a pass. I said, I don't care because that outside linebacker has a decision. Are you going to stop the run when we go to block you? Or are you going to drop back for the pass for those two wide receivers out there? You've got to make a choice. And then when we get down to the goal line, Heavyset put him in an H-back, and now you got to have a bigger decision. Split zone that guy out, or you're going to have to do something. And it's simple. You don't change nothing. It's not because I had him. If you run inside zone, it's not like, oh, I brought him in there. We're going to run a whole different run play. Still run inside zone. Still run power. Like it's still – and they looked at me like I just invented something. They were like, "Oh yeah, we could do that." And I was like, "Yeah, we could. We don't need an actual. We do have tight ends. Don't get me wrong. Right. But what are they going to do one time where you come out with an extra lineman or two, and they're going to look at the defense, going to look around and be like, well, is he eligible? Is he not eligible? Because high school kids don't pay attention sometimes. Like, well, what's going on? And then you do that once on film. Now the coach is like, oh, we got to prepare for this. We got to prepare for that. And
that's the next part of it is once you get it out, if I put it on film 1 week, what do you think the next week? They're like, oh, well, we got to figure out something for that. We might not ever get in that again. But you know what? They took 30 minutes or 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, of their practice time to line up to that formation. I might not even use it. I've done that before. I've used it one game and hadn't used it till week 8 or 7. You know, it just is what it is. But if I don't think it benefits us any that week, we won't get in it. But again, they're taking, and that goes back to the books the coach had, right? You know, all these formations. We might not be using those formations, but he had to practice them just in case. So that's kind of what I mean. That's kind of how we operate. It's, you know, just different ways.
yeah, because if you line up that way, they have to defense. We all coach defense. They line up in it and they say, okay, this is what can happen. This is what can happen. This is what can happen. You've just spent 8 minutes, probably literally 8 minutes saying bubble screen, key screen, 6 slants, and you have to talk about it. And then you go to that game and never line up in it. You just took time away from practicing your base defense to worry about that instead of that's where I'm simple. If someone lines up like that, I'm like, you know what? Just line up this way, but we're running our defense. I don't care what happens. But people don't think that way. They're like, we have to be that all-star defense coordinator, all-star thing that we have to go over this. That's why I hate defense. I would never coach defense again. I can't stand it.
I'd say I get scared going to those defensive rooms. You know, their desks are all like kind of nice, and the pencils are sharpened to the same length. You know, everything's like all organized. You know, they got we're this. And I'm like, well, you guys are. I get scared when I go in there. I try to stay away.
Yeah, we've had our contact days, and only so many varsity coaches are there because of COVID. They're doing something else. There's only many of us. So they have like 3 defensive coaches and like 2 of us offense or 3 offense. They will argue about what defense we're installing. And me and the old coordinator go look at each other. I'm like, well, I'm doing power read today. Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, go for it. Do power read. And
yeah.
I'm going to do power read and some pass blocking today or something. And we're just fine with it. We're just like, I come up with base rules. I don't care how they line up. These base rules will get us where we need to go. And I'm fine with it. You know, covered, uncovered, and I'm fine. And so we're not arguing really. Now we'll just talk about some things, but we're not arguing. We look over there and they're talking about how they defend trips. I'm like, they can do that all they want. I don't. Or like.
Then they got to change it. What if they motion to it? Oh, now what? No, now we've got to. And then that's another 15 minutes.
Because the head coach was the D coordinator, but they didn't run his defense. So he's a first-year head coach. They're installing the 4-2-5, so they're trying to really go over exactly the type of players they're going to have and talk about what they're going to call this and call this. And they're all excited. He wants to change the culture, which is great. But they're arguing, and we're over here not arguing. I'm just like, oh, I have power and power read and trap, and I tell him my rules just to make sure. Because the only thing we do is he'll draw up something to say, well, what if they do this? And I just say, well, our base rules say this, this, or this. Yeah. Or what if they line up like this? And eventually I said, well, don't call power then if they line up like that. Call something else. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to tell you on the headset, like, don't call that. And that's why I love offense, because defense, they're not going to do that. I'm like, just don't call it.
Yeah, that's it.
Because what if they have a 4-eye here and this and here, and I call power? Well, they call trap. Let's trap the 4-eye instead. Instead of running like it's the wing T stuff. You run power, and then once they come down, you run buck sweep. If they come down, we'll just do a quick trap and go up. Like
that's it.
And the old coordinator's like, okay. I was like, I got you. Don't worry. We got it. It's fine. So because you ran the spray and dealt that, how you came up with your more for 4, because I loved it. I stole that. I was like, this is brilliant, and it's so simple. I wish I would have thought of it a long time ago.
Yeah. So
like, how'd you come up with that?
Again, that goes back to the North Buncombe days. I'm telling you, when I walked in that coach's office, you know, the years prior, they even on their huddle. I mean, if you go to their huddle, there's like 1,000 and some plays, and they're probably more than that now. But that's what was on there. And, you know, they kind of handed me a little playbook, and I was trying to see what they were doing. And I'm telling you, I never got through 7 pages of it. And I'm like, holy cow. I can see why you guys hadn't won a ball game. These kids have no clue what they're doing. I mean, their head is spinning. So we kind of, we broke it down, and I said, hey, we're going to go, we're going to find 4 runs. We're going to find 4 screens, 4 quicks, and 4 dropbacks, and we're going to get really good at them. And I said, I don't care if that's all we practice. If we go into game, week 1, we know that's all we know, I'm good with it. And what really helped us do that was going into that year, North Carolina decided we could have, so they never really had like a spring ball. So they said you could have skill development, right? So we went out with these, these skill kids, and we're out here installing our passing game, and basically in the spring, and that's all we did for like 3-4 weeks is we worked that passing game, and we just worked 4 of each. Now we didn't work screens that much, obviously, because we needed the linemen to be involved with that a little bit. But we did work them, we just didn't have the linemen involved. But that's where it came from, and it just simplified what we were doing so much that the kids could pick up on it, coaches could pick up on it, and we were able just to run with it. And then what we said was, if we want to add something, we just tag. We just want to tag it. So if I call, back then, Texas Tech was 4 verticals. We've changed that now, so we change around some. Just try to people don't catch on so much, but yeah. So Texas Tech is 4 verticals. I mean, say you wanted to run, Texas Tech X. You want to run the X on the slant, we just tag X slant, or X dig or Z dig or whatever, it is. I mean, whatever it was. And when we did that, again, you saw what I was telling you. We won 3 games, we won 7 games. We won 5 or 6 games, 7, whatever. But we were able to do that because the kids wasn't confused. There was no more confusion to what we were doing. Now, moving on from that, what we've done is obviously we've moved into one word stuff, to make things a lot faster. We even use boards. We started using boards back in 2016. We started using boards just to go a little bit faster. We'd throw them boards up, and we have wristbands for the kids, and all it's on is 8 plays on those wristbands, and they're all board plays. So we'd teach them to read the board, how you read the board, or we'd throw the boards up, and all the coaches, I sit in the box. I call everything from up top. I'd say, hey, we're on the board. Put up board 1. I have them numbered on my call sheet. Board 1, board 2. Put up board 1. They'd hold up board 1, and I'd say play 2. All he would do is he'd go 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. They just look at the board, play 2. Here we go. Now everything's built into that play. So whatever it is all built into that play. So let's just example. We had one called Mars Hill. Mars Hill is a little college up around Marshall, up in Madison, where we were at. So we had one Mars Hill, and all it was power with stick. That's all it was. That's all it was. So we'd say Mars Hill. They knew we were running power, and it was power at that time. It was power right, stick to the left. That was it. We didn't flip it. We didn't do anything. It was all built in that way. And we had 8 of those. Now, 2 of those were dummy calls. So basically, what I mean by that, they were freeze calls. We just try to get them to jump. So not all of them were actually live plays on the board, but just try to keep people from catching on to what you're doing a little bit. But so yeah, that's kind of how the more with 4 come about. And the more people I talked to, they kept asking about it and saying, how are you guys doing this, and why are you doing this, and why is it, it's so simple, but you guys are having success with it. And I told them, I said, this is what we do. And one guy said, you should brand that. I don't know about if you know Mike Rowe or not. Mike's a great guy. I've got to know Mike over the years. We've done a couple of ebooks together, and Mike's a great guy. But he said, you should try to brand that. You should try to sell it. And I said, sell it? I said, ain't nobody gonna buy that. And he taught me into it finally, and that's how that's come up with it and started selling it and helping people around the country with it, pretty much. And football's taken me to a lot of different places to visit people and talk about football and in our little more with four. But what really gets me is what makes me happy is when Coach calls, "Hey, Coach, we made the playoffs." First year we made the playoffs, running your system. We won 6, 7 games, or we won 4 games. I mean, if it helps them, improves them, I'm happy about it. I'm not out here. Again, the more of four is no more anymore because I joined Rich. We kind of went in together, but so the more of four is not really a system anymore. It's really not out there. But everybody still kind of thinks of more of four with me. But again, it's great to help people. That's that's the biggest thing. It's great to help people. It's great to see people have success. And it's not me just saying, "Hey, I reinvented football. I'm the greatest guy." I have I have a wedding ring. That's the only ring I have. I have no state championships. But again, if we can be simple and have success, that's what we're going to do. The more of four is really nothing. Everybody always thought it was something really crazy or why, but all it is basic. It's offense simplified. That's all it is. It's just a simplified way of, practicing what you do. Don't go into your game week or whatever. Don't go in with 50, 60 plays. You're trying to practice during the week. It's not going to happen. Practice what you're good at. And that's what we did. We knew going into Friday night what we were going to call based off how we practice and what our kids could comprehend of what we were doing. If they couldn't do it, even though as hard, as bad as I wanted it to happen, if they couldn't do it, we'd throw it out. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't even make it on the call. My call sheet's set by Wednesday is the latest that I even look at it. If that makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, you already know.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't know by Wednesday, we're in trouble. I mean, it's going to be a long night if we don't know what we're doing by Wednesday. So really, technically, we put the practice plan together on Sunday, and we say, "Hey, this is what we're doing. This is it. No adding, no nothing else." I mean, if you've got to sit there and add stuff each week, you're searching. You're trying to find an answer I don't think you're going to find. I mean, you can always add wrinkles. Everybody does. I mean, I'm not saying you don't add wrinkles because we do that. But if we're having to build concepts and try to find new ways to attack somebody, then we're not really good at our job. So and that's the whole deal of running a system. Kind of like Rich and them, they just won their conference last night up in Idaho. I don't know if anybody realized. I don't think the first year. I don't think he won a game. I don't think he won a game the first year. I mean, I think they got beat pretty bad. And then the second year, I think they won. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to go back, but I think they won maybe 2 games. He's won right now. I think he's sitting like 6-1, 7-1. I mean, I know it's the season's cut short, but but all that's because, well, one, he's a great coach. I mean, if you don't know Coach Hargett, he's a good guy, great coach. He makes his players believe in what they're doing. I mean, he's really good at that. But the man has built a system, and he knows that system like the back of his hand. We kind of, we talk back and forth, and we kind of, we're a lot alike, and we use a lot of the same concepts. We share a lot of ideas, but his system is what's got those kids winning ball games. Now, again, there's a defensive system there too, right? It's not just an offensive system. So he's created a culture, but he's created a culture with hey, this is our brand of offense, and this is what we run, and this is why we run it. So I believe you have to run a system. I don't think you can run a hodgepodge of plays and be very successful unless you're just that much better than everybody else you play. And we're not. We have to be able, when we got a game plan, and we got to be able to, take advantage of what people give us and find ways to create that. And I think that's what he's done a great job of.
Yeah, when I was OC, I was told to come up with 54, sit down and write down 50 formations. I was like, cool. So I'm thinking in my head like 3 run plays or whatever. Name a run play, and I had to do it. Name one, I had to have it. Inside zone, outside zone, trap, counter, GT counter, this, name it, I had to have it. And it was just so much. I would go into a week going, I don't know what's going to happen. I had to figure out like, and if I said this is what we're going to run, I kind of went to that, but then I kept getting told, well, we have this, we have this. I'm like, we didn't really practice it. I'll call it anyway. And I think that's why when you were doing the more for four, I kept seeing it. I'm like, we need to do this. Like, it we did was so simple that I think we just needed to hear it. We all knew, but we just needed to see it and hear it.
Yeah.
So that's what's so great about it. I remember walking in saying, we need to do what he's doing. I never met you. I was like, I was on Twitter last night. We got to do what he's doing. We have to do this. Like, and I was like, I'll reach out to him. I don't care. I'll talk to him. No, we're fine. Don't do it. And we went 0-9, so I don't think it worked very well.
I mean, you think about run game. I mean, what do you actually need in the run game? What do you need to attack in the run game? Well, you got to have an inside run, right? You got to have an outside run. Yep, and you got to have you have to have some kind of window dressing to it, right? So you got power, then you got power read. So now you're reading somebody different. You know, I mean, it's just you don't need anything else really, as far as to attack. I mean, trap's good. I'm an influence trap guy. I got that from Justin Clark. I love influence trap, but you know, sometimes you're like, do I really need to run it? You know, or can I just run inside zone? You know, I tell you what's been good for us lately is ISO. ISO with the quarterback's been great for us because we spread people out. We get the box we want. You know, I've got +1. I'm going to run the quarterback on ISO, especially with an H-back. You know, so I mean, again, I think you have to have a run to attack the inside. You have to be able to attack the perimeter somehow. You know, and then you got to have some kind of, you know, tags off of it. You know, a lot, you know, might be ISO, might be speed option. You know, you got to have a little bit of different look, or just bring some motion. We know we use jet motion, orbit motion, we hop motion. We hop our H back around, you know, different spots. Start him over here, bring him over here. You know, just different stuff. But at the end of the day, all that stuff to our kids is nothing. As far as up front, they're still running power. They're running power read. They're running inside zone, outside zone. So my kids up front, you know, Coach Radford does a great job. He, you know, the head coach, he coaches their offensive line. He does a great job, and they're never confused. I mean, it's they'll look over and get the signal, and they see their signal, and they're done. They're hand down, ready to go. They could care less what else happens back there. You know, if they're RPO and they ain't got a clue, they're blocking power. I mean, you know, and I tell them, you know, if we get called for lineman downfield, that's on the quarterback because he didn't get rid of the ball. That's on me. I coach quarterbacks. That's on us. We didn't get rid of it. I'm the idiot called the play. So, I mean, you know, it's not on you. Go block power. You know, it is what it is. But again, just the football's simple. It really is. It's numbers game, and it's, you know, where's my numbers, where's my grass, and where do I have leverage, or how can I create leverage? That's it. Defense is the same way. They've got gaps they've got to control. They've got grass they need to cover. You know, I mean, it works the same way, both sides of the ball. I think a lot of times we as coaches can make it a lot more complicated than it really needs to be.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up the lineman thing. I remember the first time I ever had to really coach RPOs, and I was the O-line coach. I think we called it inside zone. They never run inside zone before, so we're running inside zone. And our quarterback threw it because we called it an RPO. You know, it was an RPO. And it was like the fourth time the lineman turns around in practice. Well, coach, you called inside zone. And I said, I did. Yeah. Well, why'd he throw it? And I was like, don't worry about it. And a little bit later, well, no, I want to know. And I said, do you want me to explain to you an RPO is and what he's reading and what's going on back here? And they're like, no, that's fine. And that was the old school inside zone, I guess, where everyone took a step to the right and just went up. Yeah. I've adapted and realized if I don't have the athletes to do that, we're double teaming, and I don't care. And that's how I got into ISO, was because to me, ISO is inside zone with lock in the backside. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have to teach much, I guess. And that's what I did at the school now. We just installed an ISO, and I'm teaching it like an inside zone, but we're doing that. And the school kind of doesn't want to do inside zone. They're like, we've been so bad at it. I don't want to do it. I'm convincing them slowly. And I said, you see ISO right now? And they said, yeah. And I said, this is my inside zone. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They're like, oh, you're not going to take a step to the right or left and just go up the field. And I said, no, I'm more concerned about pushing the defensive line 4 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Well, what if they don't come off on the linebacker? I said, that running back better bounce the other way. That's, I mean, that's how simple it should be. Like you said, it's so simple. That's what it is.
That running back, you get one cut, make it the right one.
Yeah, and I love the spread, and I'm old school, but I'm like, if we get 4 yards on a run play, I'm kind of happy. I'm like, okay, we got 4 yards.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it. If you can get 4 yards on a run play, you're doing good.
Yeah, so like we're gonna do power and ISO, and I'm trying to do inside zone, and because power read, and I said the rules are the same. Because
the power read's a compliment. That's that for us on the board. That's a compliment for us. You know, that just goes with power. It don't have to be like I said, it's not have to be one of our 4 base. It's just a compliment to what we do. So
yeah, like when we installed it, I said I want to make sure the wording's the same. And I said, what do you mean? I said, well, my tackle's not going to block that guy. In power, that's a tight end or an H-back probably. So on power read, we're not blocking him anyway. Like I'm thinking just tackle the tackle. Oh, like I'm like teaching these other coaches that some are older than me, but they've only done like freshmen. I'm not trying to be cocky, but I'm telling them this, and they're like, oh, because we're rebuilding the culture. Like it's a whole new thing. And so I'm like, what's been going on? But then they're like, oh, this is so simple. And I'm like, I'm teaching people, and that's what's great is like, even if they're older than me, they're processing like, oh, like we don't have to do what we did in the 90s or the 80s or whatever it was. Like, oh, I get it. Like,
the game has changed a little bit since then.
Yeah, it's crazy, and like how simple it is, and like I'm installing it, I'm thinking, oh, these kids aren't going to pick it up. It's so complicated, and I'm installing it, and they're like, oh, okay, already, and I'm like, they're not that dumb. Yeah, Coach Hart, who does service there, I can't say his name.
Yeah, Rich Hargett.
Yeah, I feel bad because in quarantine he sent me a message. He's like, hey, you want to join, or become a part of it? And I didn't know our financial situation, so I was like, I shouldn't do that because we're quarantined. We don't know if we're gonna have jobs, and I feel bad. So I told him no, and I think he hates me a little bit because I didn't do it. But I was like,
yeah, I mean, good thing, and what I'll say about service areas is what I think a lot of people don't realize is, of course, everybody has their own opinion on why should you join a system, right? Why should I join a system? We get that a lot. A lot of people will bash it. Why are you doing it? You're not reinventing anything, and we're not trying to reinvent anything. We're not trying to be, something we're not. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I mean, we probably do 85, 90% of what other people do. But I think what we do, and again, if you go back and look what Coach Hargett's done at Emmett High School, is he put in a system. He stuck by that system. He's continued to use that system everywhere he's been. And it's just, it works if you run a system. And another thing that serves the area is that even when I did more with 4, I'll be honest, I wasn't able to give. And one of the main reasons was I joined or kind of merged with Coach Hargett was I wasn't able to give my clients what he gives his clients as far as service. I mean, they do, there's webinars, in-season webinars that he does on Sunday nights with members. And he goes over, not only does he go over what his game plan is going to be for the week, he will go over, if you have questions about who you're facing, we answer those questions for you. We try to help you. We're an assistant coach to you is what we are. Even though we have our own, of course, to me, it's been kind of easy here to help as much as I can because I don't have a season right now.
uh-huh.
But him being able to do that in the middle of his season you know, and that speaks volumes.
Mhm.
You know, and we're always available. Well, we have a Telegram chat that runs. I'm telling you, that thing goes off all the time. Coaches asking questions and we're answering questions, and it's not just, hey, I went online, I bought surface to air, you know, they sent me a playbook. Uh, that's it. You know, some of these bigger systems that they sell. I mean, I know I kind of got locked into one time and bought one, and they sent me a playbook, and that was it. I never heard nothing else. Nobody ever answered any questions. Here's your playbook. Good luck. Uh, I kind of, I don't even know where that's at. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to mention anything, but I don't even know where it's at. But that's not what happens. I mean, it's a full service, and when I mean full service, we will come out and we will install this system with your staff and your kids. There is obviously there's another fee for that. I mean, we got to travel to do it. Um, but we will come to your school and we will help you install the system, and we will give you everything you need to install it, and not just leave your school and say, hey, good luck. We've changed our phone number. Can't get a hold of us. That's not how this works. It's more of a family deal, and I call it coaching family. You'll see it all the time. I call it coaching because it's not just all coaching. I mean, there's things going on with kids that that you coach, or maybe your own family, or whatever that you need to get off your chest. That we talk. I mean, we're there. That's what we're there for. I can't count the number of private phone calls I've had with coaches across the country, whether it's game planning or hey, I just need some advice, or what would you do in this situation? I might not have the answer. Coach Hargett might not have the answer, but we're going to answer the phone, and we're going to we're going to try to get you the answer if we can. If we can't, then we'll tell you that's something I don't know if we can help you with, but we'll try to find somebody that can. But it's more, like I said, it's more than just hey, buy this system for whatever the amount of money is. I mean, everybody talks about how high it is. But to be honest, if you go and look, a lot of people won't click on the link and look. If you'll click on the link and look, we sell a individual coach's pass or subscription for right around a little over $200. And for $200, you do get a playbook. You get a whole website full of material, and every bit of that. But you don't just you get video installs. I mean, there's video installs. There's it's not just you're looking at a playbook and there's nothing in the playbook. You know what I'm saying, that tells you what's going on. There's video installs. And Coach Hargett's on the board, video install at inside zone, our RPOs, whatever it is. It's there, and it's there for you to look at. And again, that's when the questions start coming. That's what we want. If you're not asking questions, then you're not doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be questions. But again, it's just not a system. We're going to take your money, and then we're done. We'll see you later. I hope you good luck. I hope you win games. That's not it. And there's a lot of them out there like that. There's some out there like that. Again, and I'm not here to bash anybody. Everybody makes, they do what they do and they think it's good, and it, it probably is good. But I think if you're going to sell a system to people, you have to sell service as well. You can't just sell them like I said, a playbook and say, go win football games. So that's kind of what we do. I give you a little, rundown. And I'm just, again, I just merged with them. I do a lot of the social media stuff for them. And I do whatever Coach Hargett needs me to do. And I answer questions for coaches and just try to help that way. But again, like I said, you just got to look, if anybody needs to look, just go look at him at high school and what he's done there. And then again, we had another coach, I think, and I was going to look at it before I got on here, but I saw his team won 7 games, I think, and they made the playoffs this year for the first time in a few years. And, that's great. I mean, and these guys are doing it to a T. I mean, they're doing surface to air from day one install, practice plans, everything, and they're winning games. And what we can't control is, a lot of people think, well, we're still losing games. Well, you got to look at why, why are you losing games? Is it, we can't control defense, right? I mean, maybe they're giving up some, I had a coach say, Coach, I love your stuff. We're scoring points. We're losing games. I said, well, what do you mean you're losing games? And he said, well, I mean, we scored 48, but we gave up 50 and we got beat. I mean, I can't, that's just something else that's out of your control. But if you're scoring points, it's like that, you should be winning every night, to be honest with you. But in high school, if you score 21 points, you got a good shot of winning.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I just, like I said, that's kind of a little S2A plug there for anybody. And then if you have questions about it, if you talk to anybody, you send this out, contact Coach Hargett. I mean, or myself. We're glad to answer any questions for you. And Rick Butler, I don't know if you know Rick or not. He's in with Service Dare. Him and Coach Hargett started it together. And Rick does a great job of putting out, I mean, just numbers. I mean, he crunches numbers and shows results. He's all about that. So the numbers are out there, and it just kind of proves that it does work. But again, that system might not be for you. You might be like I said, wing T, or you might not just you might not want RPO or anything like that. But just always, you got to pick what fits your kids. That's the main thing. Just because it looks good and it's fancy, or they're doing this. Look, why can't we do that? You got to look at your kids. First off, can my quarterback do it? Do I have the offensive line? Do I have the skill kids? Year in and year out, not just 1 year. I mean, does this fit our program from, middle school to high school? And that's what I found was really remarkable when I went and kind of before I decided to join with them. I looked at stuff they sent me, and they've got middle school. They're running it. They're successful with it. So just imagine when you get to the high school, when you don't have to coach, you don't have to reteach it. I mean, that's a major plus in my book. So, but anyway, that's Service Dare. Hey, there you go. And anyway, we're a bunch of good guys, and we like to talk ball. So,
Yeah. Christmas time, they always ask me, what do you want for Christmas? And I always get coaching books. I always ask for coaching books. So it was funny. I got some of his stuff, like his early stuff, off that I asked for Christmas. And I've looked into it before, and it's always like, not talking bad about it, but as a coach looking into it, like, I don't know. And so I felt bad when he messaged me. I was like, in a normal world, maybe, but it was at the pandemic, like for us, like everything shut down in April, like the whole state. And I was like, I might get beaten up if I use the money to buy that. And then we can't pay an electricity bill or something, like, oh, you bought that.
Yeah.
Now we don't have air conditioning and it's 100 degrees outside.
Good choice.
Well, then he messaged me again about it, and I still kind of had the same if. And I was like, oh, this guy hates me. He must. And so one day I'll do it. I think I've looked into it. I looked at the stuff I can't see, and see what you guys post. I'm like, oh, it's good stuff. I know he coached in Springfield, Illinois, so he knows people that I know, and it's just kind of maybe one day you guys will wrap me into it, but it was just the timing wasn't right. It wasn't. I know it's not a lot of money, but at that time it was like, I don't know. Like,
during that time, even now, still don't. It's kind of iffy. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next month or so? You never know. But again, and that's, we're not gonna. I'm definitely not gonna push people into doing. I don't push people to it. They ask me about it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, this is what it is, and and I'll give them a list of what it is, and this is what we provide, and they decide to do it, then good. Glad to have you. If you don't, ain't no hard feelings to me or anybody else. It's just you do what's best for you and your school and whatever, family, whatever you want to say. But we're not very pushy with it. I mean, it's just I don't believe in that. I never was that way with mine either. I would never. I just don't push people. I don't send out nice emails. I never did that. People that I had, my members that joined were basically off Twitter. I mean, and that's the only social media I used at that time to try to promote it. So I never sent out mass emails or anything like that to try to get people to join. If they wanted to join on their own, glad to have you, and let me know how I can help you, and that was it. That's pretty much how we went about it. And I think I got up to about almost 300 guys.
Oh wow.
I had 300 coaches. Of course, although not all of them renewed to go into surface to air, but most of them did. So we had a few that didn't, but a lot of them just switched over, and so surface to air was able to gain more clientele. So it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, he wasn't pushy about it. I think he was just checking up because I told him, pandemic, and
Oh yeah.
so yeah, he wasn't pushy. I think, but like I said, I'm the type I don't say yes to everything, but I always feel like I gotta be nice to people. I have to do whatever. And I was like, I can't. And I was like, those guys gonna hate me because he asked me twice. It was only twice, and I was like, oh, he's gonna hate me, but it's good. I said it's good stuff. Like it's great stuff. It's something I'm interested in because I love spread stuff. What he's doing, and I have the books right over there on my bookshelf, and so I have a little taste of what you guys do. And in a normal world, I probably would have done it. Like, I coach three sports with that stipend. I would have been like, yeah.
Maybe we'll get back to normal here at some point.
Well, that's what I told him, and I don't get off topic. But like when he first asked, I was like, because in my mind, this ain't gonna last till October. I'll be fine. We'll be fine. And now it's almost November. Like,
Yep.
Ask me November 9th is what I keep telling people. We'll find out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll wrap it up here. I know I've taken all your time. So who do you watch in college football? Are you watching Clemson over there? You guys in the Carolinas, Clemson fans?
I catch a lot of flack for this. I have been a Miami Hurricanes fan since I was 8 years old. So I've been through some good times and I've been through some bad times. Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been studying Rhett Lashley since he's the offensive coordinator there now. And I kind of got onto him a little bit back when he was at Auburn, with Gus Malzahn. And then last year at SMU, I got some all 22 film with their stuff I was watching. But I tell you, I watch a lot of college football. But I do watch Miami. Obviously, I like Miami. I do watch some Clemson. I'm trying to think. I mean, just basically, I watch any college football if it's on. But studying wise, I always study teams that are tempo teams, and I want to know kind of how they're doing it. Is there a better way? I guess what I'm trying to get at. I mean, is there a better way I can get better at? To go faster. I guess what I'm trying to say. Because for the most part, we do a lot of what they do. Obviously, we don't have those athletes that they have at each position, but as a general philosophy, we do a lot of what a lot of these spread college teams are doing. Now, again, if I can find a college team that uses some tight ends, obviously they're spread and they like to use tight ends. Obviously, I watch a little bit of that because I like being able to adapt and do some different stuff with tight ends, H backs, things like that. But I'm not, if there's a college football game on, I've got it on TV. If it's, obviously I can't have all of them on at one time, but, I like to watch, Alabama. I always like to watch Alabama just to see what they're doing, offensively or whatever, or just watch them in general. I mean, they got some absolute phenoms out there on the field, so it's kind of interesting to watch sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's, and I study a lot of, I'm kind of different. I study a lot of Division II teams, and in some of your lower level colleges. I think there's some good football there. And I think there's some really good coaching there. So I try to watch some of that stuff if I can get my hands on it. And then we got some, we got local colleges around here. Mars Hill's around here, Bard College. And there's a lot of colleges close. I can go to South Carolina, Georgia. I try to keep up with Coach Nolan, and he's in Georgia, Watkinsville, Georgia, Oconee County. I like to kind of bounce ideas off him sometimes, and we do the same, back and forth. Very successful. He's got over 100 and some wins. So the man's been around doing it a long time, and still doing it at a high level each year. So I've always kind of looked up to him. I mentioned that, earlier in your show here, but I did, like I said, I think there's a lot of good football out there, and I think if you don't study it, some sort of it, some aspect of it, this game will pass you by in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
That's how fast it moves. And again, we still do a lot of the same stuff we did back in 2013, but we have adapted and we've changed some things, or we've just added wrinkles to make it better. Um, but again, I think if you don't study this game, then you're going to get left behind. Because I guarantee you, defensive guys, they're studying.
Hmm.
They're studying everything they can get their hands on. I mean, now you got match quarters, you got all kinds of different stuff out there. I mean, they're running, three safeties, stuff like that. You've got to keep up with what they're doing. I mean, they're dropping 8 people in coverage. It's crazy, and they're still able. Some teams are dropping 8, and they're still able to control what's going on up front. So you don't see that much at high school level, but in the college level, I watch it every Saturday. I mean, they're dropping 8, and they're still controlling what's happening in the box. So that makes it tough as an offensive coordinator, I believe, to call plays when that's going on. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do, and I try to get, of course, obviously no clinics. Uh, I try to hit up a couple of college clinics. I went to Georgia last year. It was really good. Went to their coaches clinic. I've been to Auburn. Uh, I've been to Clemson about 3 times, I think. Been to Clemson 3 times. Um, I went with Coach Hargett a long time ago. We went to speak with Coach Hatcher up
Hmm.
at where's he at? Stanford. Went to Sanford and Mississippi State when Dan Mullen was there. We went there, talked to him. So I try to go around to some clinics, and then obviously your Nike Coach of the Year, your Glazier clinics, if I could hit those. But I have to find, I have to see who's speaking. I mean, it's somebody I want to hear, but of course, I speak too. I've spoken a lot of clinics. Obviously, I didn't do a lot last year, speaking wise. So a lot of times when you're speaking, though, you don't get to hear
Hmm.
a lot of people. So you're doing, you're talking back to back, and it's hard to do it. But anyway, that's pretty much what I do. I just kind of rambled a little bit there for you, but you know, I just always study. I mean, whatever. Whether Twitter is a great. I mean, if you're a high school football coach and you're not on Twitter, you're missing out. I mean,
Hmm.
you go back a couple of years ago, we were doing those daily clinics every day. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were doing those. Uh, with my job now, it's a little tough for me to do that. But we were doing those like we'd have one a day. I mean, Monday through
Hmm.
Friday, and then it carried over to Saturday and Sunday. And I mean, we were posting up stuff and getting a real good chat going on that stuff. It's funny because to this day, I still have coaches that'll find those, I guess, and retweet them out. It'll pop up on my thing, and I'm like, man, that was like 4 years ago, But hey, it's out there. I mean, if you're a high school coach, get out there. It's out there. Find it. Get better. Your kids deserve it.
Yeah. Some people think it's social media, and I'm like, it depends how you use it. Like right now, this right here, the podcast and meeting you, this is a positive. The clinics that you guys did all those years ago, that's funny you brought that up. I forgot about that. Like you guys doing that, like that's a positive. You open the door for negative, but then you just don't pay attention to it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, somebody's always going to say something more. You put anytime you post a clip, get ready because somebody's going to say something about it. I mean, it's just what it is. But I don't. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. I go on about it, and it doesn't matter. If you're always going to find bad. It doesn't matter. I can post college clips and you can find bad. I mean,
mhm.
it's not all perfect, but it's just we're trying to show you a scheme. Trying to show you this scheme and why we ran it against this look or whatever. But I mean, there's negative everywhere. You're always going to have negative.
Yeah, that's where it's not as bad now, but man, those under center spread bashings used to be
Oh,
brutal.
yeah. Or spread versus wing tee. I know a lot of I've got a lot of friends that run the wing tee, and they do it really well. And I have no problem with. I've said this ever since I started doing all this. I don't care what you run. I could care less what you run, as long as it's what fits your school, your kids,
Mhm.
and that's what you know. Run it to the best of your ability. That's like I said. We see all kinds of offenses around here. And some of them, you know, I wouldn't do, but I enjoy watching them because they do a very good job at what they do.
Mhm.
Some we play in our conference that are, I mean, they're tough to defend, and I can see why they're tough to defend. I mean, that it just doesn't fit us to run it, but they do a good job with it.
Yeah, because it's not as bad now. I've talked to coaches about it. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's not as bad now. And I said, no, I think it's because it's COVID, though. Like, nobody's doing anything right now. And I used to want to get involved in them, but I kept my mouth shut. I was like, I'd rather go watch a positive clip of something. And like, if someone posts something about Army, I look at it and I'm like, oh, how'd they block this or how'd they do this? Just because I want to know.
Right.
If someone posts Mississippi State, I'm like, oh, how did Mike Leach run this time or whatever? And Alabama's got a nasty offense this year. I've never seen an Alabama team have such a nasty offense.
Yeah, Sarkisian's got that thing dialed in.
Yeah, I love watching. I'm a Nick Saban guy, so I've been watching him for years.
Yeah.
And I think Miami's going to come back. I'm happy that they're coming back.
They're trending in the right direction. It's again, I'll tell you this. I don't know. I don't know how other fan bases are, but Miami fans are pretty brutal. I mean, I've tried to stay off social media during the Miami game because it's horrible. I mean, there's a lot of bashing going on, and probably people don't even have a clue what's going on. But anyway, uh, I think they're trending in the right direction, but they got to realize we were very bad last year. They were very bad. So to be sitting here at 5-1, yeah, Clemson beat us pretty bad. But Clemson's going to beat a lot of people pretty bad. So I mean, it's like everybody's chasing Clemson right now, and obviously Clemson and Alabama, they're chasing. Of course, I think Ohio State looked pretty good yesterday, but again, I think they're heading the right direction. They've got a good staff now, I believe. Lashley's a great play caller. How long he stays down there, I don't know, but again, it's good to see it. Good to see some wins. I was through the good years. We were winning national championships and beating people pretty good, and then we've had some bad years, but it's kind of good to see some wins in the column there.
Yeah, if that staff can stay together and recruit, I think here in a couple of years they will compete more. Like, I mean, if the only loss they have is Clemson, you can't be mad about that because Clemson and Alabama are on a crash course to.
Yeah, well, it's the whole deal is to compete. I mean, that's been from day one. That's what I've said. Everybody asks, what about Miami? Just compete. Come out and compete. That's all. If you compete, the other will take care of itself later on. But you got to be able to compete, and that's they've done that this year. I believe. I mean, I believe they've competed. Yesterday was a sloppy game in the rain down there a little bit against Virginia, but it is what it is. They still won. It's a win. So last year that game would have went lopsided, and it would have been over, by halftime. So they're showing a little bit of a culture change there. So hopefully it continues. We got a bye week, so get some people healthy and then see what happens the rest of the way.
Two teams I've fallen in love with was Texas State. I know they're not winning, but like that wide receivers coach needs a pay raise because they catch everything. And then I've really liked Coastal Carolina. I've really liked their offense. I need some film on them. Whoever's got it, just send it this like.
What about BYU?
And BYU. I'm watching them too.
I try to watch them when they're on. Obviously, they come on late.
Yeah.
I'm old and fall asleep, but that's impressive. Their quarterback's impressive, and offensively, they have a really good scheme there. From what I've watched, so that might be something I might look into in the off season. Trying to get hold.
Yeah. Me and my friend who do the college football recap thing. He's not a coach. We just grew up together, and we want to do an ESPN Stephen A. Skip Bayless thing back and forth. And we picked games, and so I think it was last week. BYU played on Friday last week. Mm-hmm. And we were like, oh yeah, let's watch BYU and Houston. It was BYU and Houston. And I didn't realize what time it was on Friday. And I'm sitting here and it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh God. I'm trying to watch the game and take notes and watch it. And I'm like falling asleep. I'm like, why are they playing so late? Like that West Coast stuff. And just can't get a hold of them.
Yeah, I'm not that young anymore. I fall asleep too early.
Oh, I know. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Like it's bad. Well, Coach, that's all I had for you.
Okay.
So I appreciate you coming on. You know,
I appreciate you having me. I really do. Anytime, I'd love to get on here and talk again with you.
oh yeah, I got to start doing second guest appearances now. Like, I've shot my shot with you, Coach Hines, and Mackey. Those are my three shooting my shots. And you guys all said yes. I was so happy. I was like, oh, they're saying yes. I could do it.
We like to get on and ramble. That's what we do.
And I was fine with it. I was Coach Kurt Hines, one of the nicest guys. He did the same thing, and he was like rambling on. I was like, I'm just listening. When you guys speak or put stuff on Twitter, I'm just like, yep, there we go.
There's a lot smarter people than me out there. So
everybody's smarter than me, so I don't worry about it too much.
It's old ball coach here in Western North Carolina. That's all I do. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Give me all your time. Anybody out there listening, thank you so much. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.